Hash and circle up.
Welcome to On, the Hash House Harrier podcast for interviews, history, and stories. I'm your host, Ra.
Today on the podcast, we are in Hyderabad with one of the key organizers of events in the hash world this millennium. He was key to getting 𝐏𝐨𝐝 2022 organized on short notice, and a great event. And also an upcoming event, PanAsia, will also be under Pusher's control in Hyderabad. Welcome today on the podcast, Pusher. Good morning. Or for you, it's not morning.
I know. Hi, Ra. How are you doing?
Great. All right, let's tell people your hashing origin story. When, where, and how did you get to your first hash?
I got to know that the hash is starting through Digit. I think most of you know Digit. And Digit and my aunt used to work together. They were colleagues. And my aunt came back one day and said, "Why don't you join this running club?" She didn't know the drinking part. So she said, "Why don't you join this running club that started up?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" And the rest, as they say, is history. I went and hit up Digit, and there I found Obelix, who was my neighbor. So I didn't know all along that everybody's in the same group.
Wow, you were right in the middle of it.
Yep.
You had not met Digit before. You tried
No.
the hash, had you? All right.
No.
What was your first impression of Digit?
Digit his sense of humor is unbelievable. I mean, for people who know him, and he's got a heart of gold. I know the whole family. I'm still in touch with Tucker and Johnny and everybody, and even his wife, in fact. We're all still part of some WhatsApp groups now. But yeah, I mean, Digit was a very, very close friend. Very, very close friend indeed.
What year was that you got talked into it by your...
1994, yeah.
Okay, what was the hash in Hyderabad like at that point?
There were quite a few expats, and the locals were, in fact, minimal. I've seen all phases of the hash in Hyderabad. Initially, it was quite a few Americans based out of 𝐏𝐨𝐝𝐚, the organization that Digit worked. Then came a lot of World Bank road projects. It brought in a lot of Aussies in town. That was another phase. Then there were a bunch of Belgians. There were almost 20, 25 Belgians at a point because their largest logistics supermarket chain had their back office in Hyderabad. So Hyderabad is the second largest IT hub in India. And outside of Americas, I think Google, Amazon, Microsoft, all these guys, they're all headquartered in Hyderabad. Their largest offices, in fact. It has its own set of expats coming in. But those days were different. Those days where these IT companies were not there. So, yeah, but they were all hashers. That's the best part. Coming in from Australia, coming in from the Americas, from Philippines.
What was the culture like there, and what was the beer scene? What was available?
We actually went through something called Prohibition in 1998.
Wow.
Yeah, for almost a year. And that's when the hash was at its absolute best, at its glory. We drank more beer during Prohibition than we ever did otherwise. You needed a doctor's prescription to say that you need alcohol as a medication, and the doctor would give you a certificate, and then you could go and take a quota every month from the government depot.
Yeah, I heard of this in the 80s in Kuwait when I was there. And yeah, it was like you say, no, I need alcohol. If a doctor says I'm an alcoholic, you're allowed to have it. Yeah, that's a great take on medicine. All right. What about you getting involved in running things and mismanagement and herring in Hyderabad? How long did that take you? And how big was the hash? What was your opportunity?
Oh, we were almost 75 to 80 every hash, and we run every Sundays, 4 p.m. sharp, come rain or shine. We haven't stopped running ever since. In the 1990, February 18th, I think that's the date of start. Yeah, so we used to be about 75, 80. There's also a full moon hash, which we call the Deccan Purnima full moon hash. Purnima being full moon. Deccan is the Deccan Plateau that Hyderabad is situated in. That was once a month, obviously, and that had about 100 people. It was like a party hash. It was a live trail. But coming back to H4, as we are more fondly called, is Sunday evenings. Digit took utmost care in making sure that the quality of the hairs, the trails, the beer was in place. Kingfisher has been our go-to beer for the longest time. You've been on the Interhash in Goa, etc. They've bent backwards to support us every time. Right from 2002 Interhash to 2022, they've been amazing. They've been absolutely amazing. They've been taken over now by Heineken, but but
Yeah.
but Kingfisher remains. They have a stronghold. It's a niche market, and Telangana, the state where Hyderabad is, has the largest per capita consumption. It's a fact for alcohol, not just beer, for alcohol.
Right. Right.
So it's perfect to be in this place when you can get enough and more alcohol at any point of time. And that's one of the reasons why we chose PanAsia Hyderabad, because we kept doing events outside of Hyderabad. I think it's time to showcase Hyderabad to the world.
I want to talk about you getting involved in mismanagement, but let's tell people a little bit more about the geography of Hyderabad and the Deccan Plateau and what's around it and how far you go before things change from a city.
Hyderabad, very eloquently put by one of the American consul generals, in fact, which stayed in my head forever, was that it's the northernmost city of South India and the southernmost city of North India, but we're not in the middle. So we we just above the south, but definitely way below the north. And that's how I would put it. We are about a 45-minute flight, or I would say on an average 500 kilometers equidistant from Goa, Bombay, Chennai, Bangalore.
Wow.
So we are absolutely ideally centrally located, and we have 350 days of sunshine. So the temperatures used to be slightly higher in summers, which is April to June, but it's coming down. And monsoons extend from June to September. And winter sets in November to Jan. When I say winter, it's a very moderate, mild, very pleasant winters. We are a gateway. It's like the airport is preferred over other airports because of these favorable conditions. And all these IT guys prefer it because we had a zero seismic zone. So,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
What about your first getting recruited or volunteering for mismanagement and hashing? How'd that happen?
My first stint was thanks to Obelix. My first stint was getting onto the subcommittee of the 2002 beer logistics along with Obelix. And I remember going and sorting out the excise issues. You were there and bringing those beers into the city from the factory, etc. And from that point, there was no turning back, I guess. I kept doing events. I kept participating in a lot of Nash hashes, etc. And we did quite a few of them till about 2015 or 16 when TNT, we lost TNT around 2018, but we eventually took over this thing that TNT started, this hash called Monsoon Madness. And the other people involved, the founding member obviously is White Trash. In fact, we just finished our 25th anniversary in 2023. So it just stuck, and every year people went back to Goa. Every time it has been in Goa, we never broke that tradition. And so I took it up onto myself to keep this going. And then Towering Erection came in and we kind of gave it a new flavor, and it's become a really popular event to go to. It gets about 100, 150 people. The next thing we did was Bhutan. And I took up Bhutan. It's a beautiful place. Found an easy hack from Hyderabad to get to Bhutan. And probably we just finished our third Druk hash, and 59 people were there. It was absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got involved in all these events, and then I obviously a lot of people from the Interhash committee came to Bhutan, and they were so impressed with these so-called organizing skills. So they said, "Why don't you come on board and be with us for the Interhash?" And I've done about 9 Interhashes already. So I guess I was kind of a decent fit.
Yeah, long experience seeing these over time. What did happen for you to get your hash name?
Oh, so Digit named me, in fact. And the guy who I went with, a very close pal of mine, he was working in the pharmaceutical company. I think it was one of those big one, big two or big three, one of those. Since he was the guy who was supplying drugs, he got named supplier. And the guy with him was the guy who was pushing the drugs. So I got called pusher. And that's how I got my hash name.
Okay, yeah, I never heard that before. Oh, that's great. Well, yeah, you got to be careful with U.S. immigration now.
That's true.
All right, I want to talk about a lot of the 90s and events, particular stories that come up. But you mentioned Towering Erection. You guys are partners. Is that hash related? The origin of that?
We knew each other from a workplace. We've exchanged mails. We knew each other existed, and the hash pulled us really closer. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. You started first, though, well ahead, huh?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
That's true.
I want to talk about 2002, the beer. The beer was branded, special labeled, and everything, right?
Right.
When you work with Kingfisher and you say, here's our logo, how does that process work? Are they good? You're a designer, you're able to use digital. I know you can do anything on the computer, digital, quick stuff there. How'd that work? Did you see that process happening in 2002?
Okay, so the Kingfisher team is phenomenal in terms of their digital prowess. And back in the day, they didn't have anything in India at all. To get into the specifics, the aluminum for the cans came from Singapore. The paper was printed in Germany, and
Wow.
all sorts of. That's why the cans were so expensive and bottles remained very inexpensive. So the chairman, Dr. Malia, the self-styled billionaire, was very excited when he heard about this. He said, "You guys are perfect brand ambassadors, the hashes, for me." And as flamboyant as he is, he really saw hashes as the perfect placement, in terms of branding, in terms of positioning, in terms of target segment, etc. To this day, I keep saying this to a lot of people. It's when you go and ask for beer sponsors, right? There's a difference of opinion. Some people say that we can extend support if it is Gen Z and if it is, if it's a younger crowd. You guys are old, hashers are old. And that's where the difference is. The Gen Zs have given up on drinking, and the hashers can drink much, much more and beat anybody hands down. And that makes perfect sense for the company to, invest in people like us. And when I say invest, I mean in terms of their brand positioning, etc. So Kingfisher, they call any hash event as an activation. I'm sure it's called the same worldwide. In Alcobev parlance, it's called an activation. They see these things as an activation. They see these events as an activation. We've never been able to do a national level tie-up or an international tie-up. But maybe my endeavor is always at some point leverage the hash connections that we have and make an approach at a global level and say that, this is the mileage you're going to get. There are 1,700 clubs worldwide,
Yeah.
and somebody should pick up that string at some point.
That would certainly help a lot of continental events. Every time you do Inter-Americas, they're struggling. They've got to go to local providers and figure it out.
Right.
Sometimes easy, sometimes not, right? Let's jump to the end of the 20 teens. A couple things happened. which led to other things. So first was COVID. How did COVID get handled in India and Hyderabad specifically for hashing?
So Hyderabad, again, I have to admit that Hyderabad is a pharmaceutical hub. And the vaccine that the Indians made, the factory is actually located in Hyderabad. So it was amazing that we had first access to the vaccines. But as far as the hash is concerned, for we were open about few hours in the day to get to groceries, etc. We tried our stints with pulling off a hash during those few hours. Then it was a complete shutdown. And then we said we will do a virtual hash by drinking in our homes and doing a video call and still call it a run. And everybody also paid registration for it. So it was fun on its own way, in its
Ah,
own way.
yeah.
And
Any lasting impact, any changes or attendance changes because of that gap to go online?
yes, post-COVID, definitely a lot of oldies, when I say oldies, a lot of regulars, not in terms of age, but in terms of people attending the hash per se, found other means of entertainment. And a lot of new places have opened up, avenues to explore weekends, etc., have opened up. But I think the hardcore hashers remain loyal. They keep coming back. It's
All right.
dwindling. It's not easy, but we are finding new ways to lure people back to the hash.
What can you say about the whole process of 2022 coming as an event? Goa bid unsuccessfully in Fiji back when we picked Trinidad. I think there were 5 bidders, all kind of things. And what did you guys get from that? And then opportunity changed everything.
That's true. So we had a very strong pitch in Fiji. I remember we came to Fiji. People were kind of carried away and mesmerized with the fact that Trinidad was an exotic destination. And truth be told, I think most of them who decided to swing it Trinidad's way were the Aussies without realizing how far Trinidad is from Australia. This is my personal take. And then later realized that Trinidad was too far away. But having said that, I would always have thought that they could have pulled off the event. If we could do a 400 member outer hash, why not? I mean, that was my
So
take.
some of the discussion in the voting at Fiji, which, it just amuses me. People said, oh, we've already been to Goa. Even though it was, over 15 years since one event was there. And of course, Goa changes. And of course, Goa is a great place and you can go. But that was some of the resistance to voting for Goa in 2018.
See, we were of the view that we are pulling off an event in 6 months, what usually takes 2.5 years to plan, right? Probably it was less than 6 months to the date. And we thought we'd get that kind of respect. So even if the people have been there before, it doesn't take much to think that these guys have put their hands up and are volunteering. Why not go support them? But you know how hashers are. Not all are loyal. So yeah,
Frankly, I got to say that a lot of people don't have any idea about the Interhash Council, and sometime we're going to have to do some briefing about that or write it down, or it doesn't really matter what people think or care. But this effort of Goa saved Interhash, in my opinion, part of it. We had the unfortunate circumstances where Trinidad really did their best. I was in touch with them, and there's a lot of stuff that people don't know. Of course, nobody knows all the things that happened. There was some interesting stuff that happened in Queenstown. But those 4 years, if they hadn't had various hashers step up in lots of different ways, we may have lost the momentum of Interhash, and it would have been harder to keep going. And there's so many choices. Like you said, weekends in Hyderabad offer many choices. And so do the many, many hash events around the world.
that's true. That's true. There are enough and more. I keep seeing calendar of events coming up right through. I am subscribed to go to so many of them. I think one of the other reasons was it clashed with the Mekong hash that weekend. That was another thing that we didn't factor. Maybe it could have. We were about 400 odd people, but we could have been 500 plus, which is still a decent size if you ask me. But
Yeah.
personally, I mean, truth be told, I think it was still a decent event in terms of scale, in terms of production, in terms of, I don't know, what's your view? I mean,
The greatness of Interhash is it brings people from all over the world at massive scale, and we do great things. And the bad thing about Interhash is it brings massive number of people from all over the world with a giant scale. So we had a smaller event, which was still big. To me, the first day from the red dress hash, we had one big party circle, and it was a really good get to know people. Plus, I don't know what the capacity of the hotel was. I stayed across the street, but everybody was almost walking distance.
that's right.
We weren't spread out. The magic of that was seeing people trail after trail and evening after evening, everybody was around. It was really cool. Let's talk about a little bit behind the scenes from you're forgiven to complain as much as you want here. What do people who haven't organized a big event would benefit from understanding what is the chaos and key things to having a good committee and what kind of complaints you get that you usually don't tell people. You should hear what people complain about. What's it like as an organizer? What are your concerns and what's the reality of what goes wrong and what goes right and the surprises you get?
So I think I've learned a lot from this, from the monsoon madness. Bhutan is a very different hash. It's a very different baby to handle. But from the monsoon madness, I think a lot of people come across now from other countries as well, from the Middle East, from Malaysia, of course, quite a few. And people, if you ask me, they keep saying that the event can be 3 nights instead of 2 nights. 2 nights is too less, is what they say. So that's something that keeps coming up. So I was, in fact, trying to explore if we can use the third night as an optional night, and call the main event 2 nights, 3 days. And then people want to stay back, you can call it a post lube or.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And I think if the other is alcohol, hard liquor, alcohol. To buy alcohol from the hotel that you're staying is the biggest deterrent. They want to bring their own alcohol, which I think while you are negotiating with the venue or with the hotel, at the initial stage itself, we need to make that very clear that you should allow hashers to bring their own hard liquor. I'm talking about hard liquor, not the beer. The beer is anyway part of the deal. So I think those things, that's the feedback. Otherwise, it's just minor things. Transportation, of course, we all organize. So
Okay, well, I was hoping for a little bit more with license to say you wouldn't believe it. People have been involved in events, sometimes get some priceless emails, people asking how many pairs of shorts should they bring, what exchange rate will my bank in Tokyo give me. I don't want to pick on Japanese. That's not where it
So
came from.
those
But
those kind of things happen when you plan a trip to Bhutan. The questions are unbelievable. Like what plug point, what charger, what voltage, is there a hair dryer in my, I can never forget this. Is there a hair dryer in rooms? So yeah. So again, every place comes with its own complexities.
yeah. And like it or not, there's politics on the hash and things. What made your committees, what size committees works for you on these regular events like Monsoon Madness and Bhutan, where it's not a one-off that you're planning for 4 years, that you're going to do it every couple years or every year? What kind of people complement each other when you form a committee? Who do you look for?
So
People would say, I need people know hashing, or I need people with certain management skills. What makes up the right committee for you?
one is the digital prowess, if you ask me. Definite sending out itineraries, sending out content to the T, in terms of detailing day-wise agendas, itineraries, and what is involved, what's included in the deal, etc., how to get there, the FAQs, to formulate all this. That's a lot of content. Even if you use new age chat GPT or Grok or whatever, it still takes time because you still have to feed content specific to the hash. And I would definitely need somebody like that for sure. And the best person for that is Towering Erection. Honestly, she is brilliant on that. So that's one. And then logistics in terms of transportation. So that's a different ball game altogether. That's the other. And finance, of course, somebody who will keep in mind how to track banking transactions, payment gateways, etc. So these are the three things that are involved. So these are the three people who have to support the ONSEC.
Right. And get the job work done right. Yeah.
Yep.
What goes wrong on hashing in India? When the public or the authorities or dog owners, what are the stories when things go wrong and things have to stop and they have to be an adult to deal with the outside world? What kind of things have happened there?
Different states promote different ways of entertainment, and it comes with its own set of rules. Like Goa is becoming a little more stringent, it's becoming tighter by the day. That's because there have been a lot of wrong precedences set by other tourists and not hashers. So hashers, I'm assuming, as much as we drink, we do responsible drinking in a certain way, you know. Mm. So we know when to do a hard stop, etc. But things like venturing into the sea, those kind of things, private property violation of, jumping into somebody's properties, etc. Those kind of things happen, but it's primarily to do with alcohol consumption. And the other thing that is coming up lately, which is debatable, is allowing music after a certain time. And it has its own licenses because of copyright infringements. So
Oh, wow. Yeah.
that's a big thing in India now. So whether it's a wedding, you need to pay a license fee to have a live band, or it's like a whole matrix. You live band indoors, live band outdoors, DJ indoors, DJ outdoors. So you have a pricing grid, and then you pay that, and then you're allowed to do it till a certain cutoff point.
Yeah, and I suspect it's not just India that's going to have these changes and with more information flows, people. So I think this will open some people's eyes. It might scare some people off of offering to organize events, or it might just give them a better appreciation of some of the stuff that happens. Yeah. What about you as a runner? Were you a runner when you started? And
Yes.
yeah.
So, I know my feet hurt even now, but probably with all that running, but I still walk every day. Talking about running, the hash is the greatest example for all these shoe companies across the world, and it's on my head for a long time. And I don't know why we've not been able to collectively showcase the fact that if your shoes can endure the hash, they're the best pair as a brand. I know a lot of people object to the fact that we don't need outside brands to come in, but then if you want the hash to survive, to flow, to prosper, we need some support. And I think these are things that people should think on these terms. I had a company called Saucony who launched in India a few years ago. They were very happy with the concept. They never heard of the hash. The point is, if they had to take it back and then replicate it across the world, imagine the number of people.
Oh,
I see a lot of people doing haberdashery. I see a lot of people independently doing haberdashery. But it's time that, we reach out to these people and keep their logo presence subtle, I'm a branding marketing guy, so I know how it works. There can be reciprocity between larger companies and the hash. We can coexist peacefully.
That's great. I no longer have them. Regrettably, I wore them out, but I got a pair of Nike shoes in 1994, made in Thailand, branded for the trip to Rotorua. It was an American guy who was a brand aware like you back then, and he had time and connections in Thailand. And we got 20 pairs of shoes made, and I sold them back to people in Cairo. I brought a couple back, people who didn't go on the trip. This is something that would be so cool if we yeah. Oh, geez. The Hasher shoes. And we could sneak in a good irreverent double entendre meaning and everybody would wear those shoes.
Yeah, have on embedded on it,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let's just look at the future. It's over 30 years for you hashing. And so the hash has changed, the world's changed, India's changed, technology is changing faster than ever. Choices. We keep talking about the increasing choices. If you hash now, apart from our feet hurting and we're not moving our bodies as fast for a lot of us that were back then, we'd recognize the hash. It's the same hash in Hyderabad that was 1994 that you have today, except more walkers probably. What do you think in the future? What's going to happen in 30 years? The world will be very different and the choices will be even more, everything. Are we going to survive? It seems that Indian hashing has the same challenges, but is going strong. What do you think about everything else?
I think it's not enough effort from the hash itself to reach out to get more people to come and hash. But case in point, Taiwan, I was so impressed with the young GM, young crowd. And so I got down to talking to these guys and asked them, what are you guys doing that you youngsters are coming in and hashing, and you're all in your late 20s and early 30s? And the answer to that was a lot of people from the Taiwan hash went to independent running clubs and told them about the hash and told them that you just don't have to run, but it's like a game. And also there is beer at the end of it. So it's like a double whammy. You have this plus this, and all you're doing right now is only running. So that appealed
Yeah.
to these guys. And in India, in more so in, let's say, Hyderabad, in quite a few cities now, there are these running clubs that are independently sprouting. They're all over Facebook and Instagram, but they're all in their teens and 20s and 30s. Maybe if we sow the hashing seeds now, they'll be perfect hashers in the next few years. So it's just that somebody has to take the initiative to go to these guys and start telling them about the hash.
Yeah, I love the new Taipei hash. I haven't hashed with them there yet, but I've bumped into them at other events and they're nuts. They're
Yeah,
fun. They are
yeah,
fun. Yeah, they're a really
exactly.
good group and very welcoming. And again, they welcome anybody who's decades older into the fray with them. Just assume they're a great group. If we can do that and keep the hash alive, what about the traditions are important to you personally? What about the hash made it stick with you from the day you walked in?
Well, I think some of my best friends in life are hashers from across the world. And I continue to meet new people, and they keep getting added to this list of friends. That's something that keep me going. I mean, I know quite a few come, it's seasonal. You see some people, they go away over a period of time. But then there are people who always stick. So now I'm going to catch up at the Interhash. In fact, we've got multiple WhatsApp groups going. And I know of people trying to catch up with me now after so many years. And some of them hashed in Hyderabad before. And so we all going to have a piss up at the Interhash. That's when I'm relieved of my voting duties,
Yeah.
post my voting duties. So yeah, so that's
Yeah.
exciting.
I do want to talk about the Interhash Council, since you're on a little bit, the Interhash Council has come to rely on your digital skills. And I don't know if you subcontracted that to someone else you know well or whatever. We designed a ballot, a logo for the Interhash Council and everything, and people will be able to find Interhash Council people, buy their t-shirts if they want there. But the ballot had to be designed in cooperation with the Interhash committee and host together. So it's kind of a neat thing. As a brand guy, you have the design skills yourself now, huh? You have, I know you talk about Towering Erection being your tech whiz, but is that your work or her work?
No, it's not her work. She was not involved in this. But I have a guy who executes for me. The design is mine. The ideas are mine. The concept is mine. But he's brilliant at his computer skills, Corel Draw, etc., Photoshop skills, etc. But I do spend time with him, sit with him and align. And then he keeps sending me these based on my ideas. Because what matters at the end of the day is the size of the fonts, and those are the things that he gets into. But conceptually, the design is mine, and we etch it out on a paper and we actually work on it, and then we create it manually. We don't use anything. I don't use anything from the net that is readily available. And that's why it looks so fresh and clean and crisp and should stand out. See, he has no idea what the hash is. So I have to keep in mind the aesthetics. I have to keep in mind that beer should be part of the logo, running should be part of the logo, you know. So even if I give him a debriefing, it's not easy for somebody to replicate something unless you design the idea, unless you float the idea.
Yeah, the essence is not necessarily just put things in and make sure they're there. What about over these years then? There are a few other places, including India and Asia, where getting t-shirts made is pretty easy and inexpensive. How's your collection grown in 30 years?
I've done recycle management. So I have something called a hash room, okay, which is about 100 square feet room in my house, which has only hash paraphernalia. And I keep recycling it from time to time, but still I am screamed upon, shouted upon to keep cleaning it. Some t-shirts are of sentimental value, right? And that keeps adding to the list. You know, I keep adding t-shirts, and I'm pretty good at designing hash t-shirts and finding different materials and newer materials, etc. So I'm very obsessed with these hash tees that I create and new design technologies, etc. So something that the hashing world hasn't seen. So I was in Colombo about a couple of weeks ago. They're doing the prelude for the PanAsia in Hyderabad next year. And I handed them a few t-shirts that I had designed. And they realized that Colombo is a pretty decent industrial hub for t-shirt manufacturing. And I was doing t-shirts for half their price and different material they haven't seen, stuff like that. So they were like very impressed of why don't we source. I mean, I don't have time for this, but I'm just saying that, you know, I'm just obsessed with this hash design.
That's great. All right, let me ask you on the hash, is the RA always right?
Now we're getting political.
Yeah.
Of course. It goes without saying.
Okay. Yeah, that's one way to avoid politics. Okay. You mentioned Digit gone by. Who are some of the other people? Being in it 30 years, not everybody's still around. Who are some of the other people you've met that either have passed on or have aged out or physicaled out of hashing?
Oh, Hyderabad hash has seen quite a few hashes like Triple X and Gasbag, who live in France now, in just off Paris, and they hash with the Paris hash. Ex-GM of Hyderabad hash. They're all coming to the Interhash now. So they're still around, yes. Obelix, good old Obelix, still the GM, the Grandmaster Emeritus. Grandmaster Detritus of Hyderabad hash.
That's, yeah, we may have to get that term spread around.
Yep. So yeah, there are quite a few still. Then Shaggy, she's coming from Melbourne. PP from Johannesburg. We're all joining there. Yep. So the
Well,
Hyderabad has produced some decent hashes.
let's do a short commercial for PanAsia, Hyderabad, dates, how to rego, how to find it, what do people need to know about that?
First of all, Hyderabad is connected by 1,100 flights a week. Okay, so there is no way that somebody can say it's not easy to get to Hyderabad. It is extremely easy to get to Hyderabad, especially if you're coming in from the US or Europe. There is direct flights from Amsterdam, from Germany, from London, and of course, all the Middle East Gulf cities. And of course, on the Asian side, on the Southeast Asian side, Singapore, Malaysia, etc. So it's extremely easy to get to Hyderabad. And Hyderabad is one of the fastest growing cities in India. No traffic jams, better than Bangalore, better than any other city in India, clean. And the venue that we have chosen is in the heart of the high-tech city. We have the central city, central business district. It's called the high-tech city. And it's a rustic open lawn in the heart of the city. And no hotel should be more than 200 meters or 300 meters. You're surrounded by hotels. So we're tying up with multiple hotels. You can choose hotels as per your budget. So there's no pressure on somebody to stay in a particular category of hotel. I think we want to showcase Hyderabad as a destination for hashing. It's the city of pearls. Hyderabad is called the city of
Oh,
pearls. The Nizam of Hyderabad was the world's richest man for a long time. He used something called a Jacob's diamond. You should look it up. A Jacob's diamond, which is whopping 100 and odd carats, as a paperweight. And and that's how his opulent lifestyle was. So we have lots to showcase. We're going to probably do a lot of stuff like a traditional Nizami meal, like what the kings and sultans would have. So we're getting all those kebabs and stuff like that coming up. And it's a UNESCO capital for the dish called biryani.
oh no, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a foodie's paradise. And the trails, of course, will be all in and around Hyderabad. The tourism department is on board and they promised a lot of support. So the event looks really perfectly poised.
What's the dates and any limit that you expect to
Okay.
need, or how many will come?
Okay. So good question. November 5th to 7th, 2027. That's the main event dates. 30th October is the prelude in Sri Lanka. It's a 3-night prelude. 30th, 31st, and 1st. It ends on second morning. So if somebody wants to stay back in Sri Lanka on second and third, they can do so and come in for the Hyderabad event. It's a 90-minute flight from Colombo to Hyderabad, about an hour and a half. So it's pretty close, really inexpensive. It's even more inexpensive to come to Chennai too, if you want to come in from Colombo. And there's a post loop on the 9th of November. So after the PanAsia event, one can go to Pondicherry via Chennai. The Chennai City Hash C2H3, Chennai City Hash House Harriers. They're going to pull off a post loop. It's a 2-day event around Mahabalipuram and Pondicherry, the French town. And then people can exit out of Chennai, which is the hub there. If one has to do the whole thing, it'll be from 30th October to 11th November, which is just about less than 2 weeks, which is a
Nice, yeah.
perfect holiday getaway.
Where do people search to find rego?
Oh, so the website is on, the Facebook page is on. Just Google PanAsia Hyderabad 2027. It's all there. All the content is on. There are promotional videos going on, and lots more content coming up. I will probably start populating it. I was just waiting for the Interhash to finish. Also, do meet the Hyderabad hash team at the Interhash. We're going to set up a kiosk there, and you can come there and do your registrations there as well. And we might give you an extra t-shirt, a sign-up t-shirt.
Nice. This has been fun for me to hear these ideas that I don't know if I've ever heard them before about getting a worldwide hasher shoe organizing and the hasher beer things. Hope these things come to thing. I think they would be great for hashing. I think they would be fun. And of course, there'd be challenges in getting it right, but that'd be great. Pusher, it's great to talk to you. You're a busy guy. You do a lot for the hash. It's probably good you have an addiction, that you keep your energy, and with all your busy stuff, how much you keep doing for the hash. Thank you for everything you've organized in the past, and it seems like that's not going to end anytime soon.
Thank you so much, Ra. It was so much fun talking to you. I'm going to see you soon.
Yeah.
On stage.
Yeah. All right. On.
On.
To close the circle, here's the hash anthem sung by Mother Hash.
Swing low, sweet child.